What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's up, YouTube? How is everybody doing out there? So I have the screen now, basically a snapshot of how I understand the situation so far. Registration is closed for the SHSAT. Tickets have not yet been issued. Apparently, even though registration closed on the 15th, you can still edit your priority list, I think, until either the 23rd or the 27th. Not sure. There's other people saying something is open until the 28th. On top of it, LaGuardia is going to have their auditions, so that's another reason to keep your My Schools account going. And at some point, normal high schools are supposed to start as well. So there seems to be a little confusion going on at the moment. But as I understand it, SHSAT 8 is going to happen on Wednesday, January 27th. Okay, for most kids, and that's going to be in your middle school. Okay. And a makeup date is going to be Wednesday, February 10th. They're both Wednesdays. SHSAT 9 is going to happen on Saturday, January 13th, and Sunday, February 7th. I'm assuming for now they're going to arbitrarily give it to you, and if that's no good, you're going to have to go to your guidance counselor. So far, we have no information about exactly how it's going to happen. We do understand for grade 8 it's going to be in your middle school, but there's no information about times and stuff like that yet, or whether there'll be a double session, maybe a morning session and an afternoon session. Nobody knows that yet. Same for SHSAT 9. So far, they're telling you guys about SHSAT 9 is going to happen at a DOE location, which might be one of the middle schools. It might be one of the normal high schools they use. Nobody knows for sure. That's happening not during school. For the students who have school that day, you're obviously going to be off. Okay. And then there's students who are not in DOE schools. They will also go on the days that the SHSAT 9 was. So if you're going to, say, a charter school, then you will go, your day will also be the 30th or the 7th. All right. So hopefully everybody is cool with that. All right. So let me get that off the screen for now. There's probably going to be people popping on asking about that. So if you don't know yet, I'm Greg from GregsTutoringNYC. My email is floating across the bottom. You guys can reach me about any question you have whatsoever about the SHSAT at this point. It's Monday and it's next Wednesday. Yeah, boo, yay, boo, right? Who knows? Who knows which is the better way to go here? So with that in mind, we did 10 sections of this already. We're up to part 11 already. We did ELA Rev A, ELA Rev B, ELA Reading Comprehension. So now we are into the math. Booyah! So today we're going to focus just on the grid-ins. I'm exhausted. You guys are probably exhausted. The grid-ins, if I remember right, don't look too bad. Let me see how we're doing. Let me make sure we're live. In fact, let me set this up so I can get any questions coming through that you guys may have. Give me 1 second, people. Yeah, 1 week. Start next Wednesday already, finally. After all these delays and nonsense and whatnot, it's finally gonna happen. Yeah. Yeah. 1 second, it's not finding the video. Hopefully I didn't make it private or something like that. Okay, so we're live. All right, some of you guys, it's time to kind of step up your game. You can't be meandering about anymore if it's in a week. Even for those of you who are going to take it February 7th, it's still not an awful lot of time. You should be finally down to your last kind of things. You should be wondering what topics you never studied at all. Okay. You should be whittling down some of the topics that you weren't sure about, and you should be now pretty clear on your strengths and weaknesses. You should be formulating your pacing. If you haven't paced the practice tests yet, you need to. You may also want to consider about taking your practice test with a mask on, okay? Because most likely you're going to be required to wear a mask on SHSAT day, whenever your day happens to be. So there's that. You want to figure out your pacing. You also want to figure out how you're going to approach the test. I like to look at least 5 sections: Rev A, Rev B, reading comprehension, grid-ins, and multiple choice. So at least break it down in that order. There's 3 hours for most of you. You can do any question in any order, but you should break it down in some logical perspective, where if you're horrible in the grid-ins, then maybe that should be your last section. If you're beautiful in the Rev B section, that should be your first section. The idea is to get as many points as possible as fast as you can originally, before you get tired and all those other things. And that's why you need to test your pacing and other stuff as well. And once you think you figured out what your breakdown is going to be, including how you're going to approach things, even which questions you're going to skip. Like if you classically can't get exponent questions, then skip those initially. So what you want to do is at some point mimic a test scenario one day where you're actually doing at least that once. You want to maybe do that twice even, just so that when you finally figure out what you think your strategy is, that you can get through it, all right? That's important because most kids don't complete the test. Most kids leave the SHSAT without having finished it. Welcome, everybody. I see a few people hanging out in the lobby there. If you're catching us on the replay, cool. Welcome as well. Peace in. I still have some of the test dates sitting on the screen. That's the current information as I understand it. The DOE has misinformed us numerous times, so it's the best we can do. So we can only assume for now that finally it's really going to start happening next Wednesday. All right? There's more parts to this coming. This channel already has a couple of hundred SHSAT-based YouTubes already. Please subscribe, though, so that you can get and set notifications so you can find out any new ones. And please like, right? Why not like? This takes a lot of my time. I'm doing this between tutoring students, so there's a little gap time right now. So I kind of chuck stuff in there. But we already did 10 parts from an hour to an hour and 3/4 each. So I already put just on these videos alone about 12 hours in for you guys, which is a lot of time when you think about it. I'm offering this up to you guys for free. I like to give back. So the least you can do is like. Smash the like. Smash the like. Right? I don't have to do these videos. All right? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this extra tab here. And we're back. You should now be seeing the SHSAT Handbook. We're going to do the grid-ins. So let's try to fling to that section. By now, all of you should know where to get a SHSAT Handbook. If you don't, you can go to my website, GregsTutoringNYC.com, and I have links to a whole bunch of various things I do. There's links to handbooks, past year's handbooks, about a dozen of them. Some of them are repeated, but it's still better than nothing. Okay. And, whoops, I went too far. Where am I? Are these the questions? No, they're the answers. I've linked to a problem of the day that I do. I did a problem of the day earlier. So that's in GregsTutoringNYC.com/POTD. And this, I have a SHSAT 9 specific material and ELA specific material, because main idea is so important there. So there's a whole ton of info I have for you guys that is going to be ricocheted from there. Is that? Wait, where am I going? What was that? Multiple choice. All right, here we go. Okay, so you should be familiar with the directions, the instructions. Okay, if you guys want to try to figure out the answers, please definitely post it in the chat, and we can talk about why something was right or wrong. What I like to do is explore alternatives. Some problems don't have alternatives, but even still, we're going to push for that. The idea is when you're on a problem, you want to make sure you read it right and solve it. and then you want to solve it a second time, right then and there, without leaving that problem, a different way. And that pretty much means when you did it the two different ways, especially when they're very different, that you've probably solved the question right, and you probably don't need to come back to it at all right? So that's something to consider as well. All right, let me just get my tabs in order here. So directions, solve each problem, cool. On the answer sheet, write down your answers in the box. So they're talking about the bubble sheet here. The only thing that matters is the bubble sheet. They will collect your test paper as well, so you can put any notes, any calculations, any formulas, anything on there. You cannot bring scrap paper of your own. There's been yin-yang about this over the years, but the proctor is supposed to have extra scrap paper if you need it, okay? The way the SHSAT's done is that the numbers normally work out so that any white space on the page, you should be able to use. If you notice, there's a lot of white space on this page, and there's only 3 problems, and none of these are going to use all that white space. So something like 58, actually solve it right in the space here, okay? And if you need to, because the space down here, you could draw a line and put 58 or something here, okay, which is your continuation of it. Try not to erase your scrap work, okay, because this only matters for you. They're not going to look at this unless they find you're cheating or something like that. Otherwise, they're only collecting it as a archival purposes. But the only thing that matters is the Scantron. So you want to keep your bubble sheet clean, okay? For the grid-ins, it's telling you start on the left side of each grid, okay? That's important to do. So go into your handbook and find the pages where it talks about how to do grid-ins, all right? There's like 3 or 4 pages early on in the SHSAT Handbook where it actually leads you through and tells you how to do some grid-ins. So it says start on the left side, okay? So the grid-in has a minus sign field and then 5 fields, if I remember. You need to start here, okay? Do not write justify your answers, okay? Do not put blanks in them. Print only one number, and under each box, you must circle the match. If you only do one or the other, you're going to get the wrong answer, okay? And when it says start on the left side, it's not talking about the minus field anyway. So if the answer is 1, you're just going to put a 1 there. You're going to put space 1. If the answer is -1, you're going to fill in the minus, right minus, and you're going to fill in the minus bubble, and then put 1, and you're going to have spaces along the side of it over here, okay? You're not going to be doing minus, and then a whole bunch of spaces, and then the 1. This is no good, okay? So don't do that. Don't do that, okay? And then they're giving you extra rules. Again, go to the page. In fact, why don't we do that now? What page am I on right now? I'm on 79. Whoops, I just passed it. Nope, that wasn't it. They're also telling you this. So I believe this part here where it tells you about filling in your specialized high schools, I believe that's no longer going to be on the SHSAT because you filled this in my schools this year. This is the first year that's being filled in through my schools. Okay, these are the pages here. So if you guys go to page 26, okay, that's where the grid-in discussion happens. And it gives you some of the rules here, and it gives you a whole bunch of examples that are good and some examples that are bad. Why is this important? Because let's say you get all the answers right and you bubble them in wrong. You're going to get no credit. So that's 5 questions you're going to throw away, right? And let me just make sure we're still live. There's a whole bunch of people in the lobby still. Hey, everybody, say hi. Just post saying hi. No harm done, right? All right, so what did I say? We're at page 68? 67? And if you guys have any questions, including general questions, throw them out there. I normally wait to answer general questions till the very end, but if I'm feeling good, hello. How's everybody doing? Depends on the question. I'll answer it live or not. All right, so now we are going to finally jump into the math. I'm only doing grid-ins, so I'm assuming this is not going to take an hour and a half. It may not even take an hour. Okay, so we're going to simplify this. This is a PEMDAS question. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, okay, which is going to go into so this is exponents, parens, multiplication, division go together, and addition and subtraction, okay? There's also some other groups of things that are often never talked about when PEMDAS goes. There's absolute value, there's square root, okay? There's also, in some cases, in addition to parens, they may use square brackets. Square brackets usually go around when you already have the left and right smooth ones. Okay, stuff like that. All right. There's other contexts that also work at the paren level. Trying to remember what some of them are. All right, it doesn't matter, but just remember that up here, that it's not just parens. All right, because if I was to have like the square root of x plus y, okay, plus something else, I want to do this by itself. Okay, and I usually want to do it first as well. All right, so let me get rid of some of this clutter so we can focus strictly on the problem. So we have a negative number added to a positive number minus a minus. Okay, so minus a minus gives us plus 1.1. Okay, so at this point, there's a couple ways to do this. I can add this to here, or I can add it to there, right? If I do that, what do I get? Minus 2.7 plus 2.3 equals minus 0.4. If I did it the other way, here I would get what? 3.4, and then I have minus 3.8 plus 3.4. It still gives me minus 0.4. So this is what I'm talking about. I just solved this by adding the 1.1 to the 2.3 and also the 1.1 to the 3.8, just to confirm my answer's right. So I use two different calculations, right? The numbers in here are different. So the flaw with this logic is that if this was not a plus and something else was wrong, then both of these would be erroneously incorrect, okay? And you have to weigh that against the traditional perspective is that you're going to answer all the questions and then go back and do a double check. Well, who's to say when you go back to do the double check, you're probably not going to make the same silly mistake that you did. So kind of the alert here, you know, the alert here is what? Minus signs. Okay. And minus signs traditionally run into two problems. Okay. There's same with plus. This means two things: addition and positive. So if I have 1a plus b, this is addition. If I just have plus c, that means it's a positive number c. The minus sign works the same way. So minus means subtract and negative, okay? So minus c is a negative number. Subtraction is a minus c, okay? So this is called the binary operator when it's subtraction, because it's working on two operands, a and c. It's a negative number and minus c because there's only one operand. It's applying directly only to that expression, that solo expression, whereas subtraction needs two things. So normally when we do expressions, we're applying the multiple meanings. And with the addition and subtraction here, there's multiple ways to go. Because you can say instead of this being a positive, if we add 0 to it, it's the same as addition. Okay? Well, the same thing is here. If I put 0 in front of that, the negative unary operator now becomes a binary subtraction. So we can do a conversion between the two different ways. So that's what you need to watch out here. The minus signs, or the negative signs, depending on how you look at it, is what's killing a lot of you guys. So this is a giveaway question. I'll answer that later. This is a giveaway question, okay? Because it's just PEMDAS, and there's nothing too deep going on here. So this is what I call a silver plate question, which is that this is throwing away 4 points to get it wrong. I also have another saying, which is the problem with a hard question is it's hard. On the converse, the problem with an easy question is it's easy. And yet many kids will get question 58 wrong. Okay? So it means on top of knowing your ELA and math, on top of pacing yourself, on top of knowing test taking strategies, all these kind of things like that, you need to stay alert. That's a tip right there. Okay? So that's one of the things you do. What should I do for the text next week to do well? One thing is to be alert. Practice what you're doing, not just the raw math. A lot of you go too focused on the exam and you're trying to solve problems. You need to back up a little bit and think of this conceptually and abstractly as well. Do both. You need the micro view because at the end of the day, you do need to solve problems. You also need the macro view, and you need everything in between. So it means as you're going through every problem, there's about 20 things you need to be concerned about. So it's just something you need to get used to doing. It's like when you cross the street, you look left and right. You just got so used to doing that. So it's something you guys need to end up starting to do. That's part of why you're practicing. A lot of you was just so focused on getting this mythological score without realizing that the test is more than that. Okay? The test is more than problem 58. So that's why you need to be attentive on these things. Okay, and the test is also about being rigorous. Okay, it's not enough for me to ask you, do you know what PEMDAS is, and can you explain it? Can you do me a tutoring session on what PEMDAS is? Like, can you guys stand up and do a YouTube about it? I bet all of you can, and yet half of you will get 58 wrong, despite how trivial and easy it is. And that's why it's on the SHSAT, because attention to detail, even if you're a genius, is still important. It also doesn't matter how fast you do something. If you do it in 2 seconds and it's wrong, where has that gotten you? Okay, so that's kind of the concerns that you guys should have. All right, so is everybody good? 58? Okay, 59. So angle M and angle R are supplementary. So we have terminology being used here. So the SHSAT traditionally avoids terminology. Even in the ELA section it does. But every once in a while, it's going to throw in some of your terms. So you need to know complementary, supplementary. You obviously need to know right angles. They may use alternate interior at some point. You need to know all your formulas and geometry. You need to know notions like positive difference. Difference comes up a lot on standardized tests, and it means the minus sign, subtraction. And positive difference comes up a lot too. Okay? When I give you two numbers, like 7 and 9, there are two differences between here. This 7 minus 9 equals minus 2, and this 9 minus 7 equals positive 2. These are two different differences. So the positive difference is this one here. So if a question asked you that, that's terminology that they're kind of subtly just throwing in there. So this is not subtle. This is clear. You must know what that is. So if you don't remember what they are, think of this: complementary, supplementary. Okay, they're alphabetical. C comes before S. So if you want to look at it, C is less than S. So these are dealing with 90 versus 180. So complementary is 90, supplementary is 180. This is just probably one of many ways to memorize this. So this is dealing with supplementary, so it's talking about 180, okay? So there's two angles that are supplementary, okay? So if we visualize that, okay, we don't know. They could be 90, it could be this way, it could be this way. So let's just arbitrarily doing one. Remember, things are not to scale, so let's not us do it to scale. So this is angle M, and this is angle R, okay? So now we've analyzed the first sentence. Angle M and R are supplementary. So together, they're 180, okay? The measure of R is 5 times the measure of M. Okay, so I drew it properly. R is bigger, right? And that's that. So what we have is we're going to get two expressions out of this. A lot of you could just do this in your head. Generally speaking, the math on the SHSAT is not hard, but you should always write it down because of things like 58. 58 was so easy, and I just spent 10 to 15 minutes talking about why you're going to get 58 wrong. So one of the other reasons you guys get things wrong is that you do it in your head. Remember, it's test day, your adrenaline's kicked in, all this kind of thing is happening, and you're going to make a silly error that way, all right? So always write down as much as possible. You also have the benefit that once you write it down, it's there, and you can refer back to it later, okay? So what we have is M plus R equals 180, okay? That's the first sentence. The measure of R is 5 times the measure of M. That's what we're doing. We're writing algebra for this. We're mapping the English to math. M plus R is supplementary. R is 5 times M. Okay, what is R? Okay, so what we can do is plug this into here. If we plug this R into here, we get M plus 5M equals 180, okay? Which means 6M equals 180, right? If we combine like terms over here, we're going to combine these, and now we divide by 6 on both sides. So M equals 30, okay? That's M though. So now we're going to plug it into that one. So we have M plus R equals 180, okay? Or we can plug it straight into here. So we get 150, right? If M is 30, then 5 times that equals 150. Why is my tablet not writing? Whoops. So that's 150. So now we can come back and try to make sense of this. That was 150. That was 30. So let's feed it back in. Once we get a problem, once we get our answer, we're going to try to feed it back into the problems. M and R are supplementary, so 30 plus 50 is definitely 180. So supplementary was 180, okay? And then the measure of R is 5 times M. Yeah, 150 is 5 times M. So there, we're done. We proved that. So is everybody good on this? So that's the algebraic way to solve this. You have explanations in the handbook as well. I try not to use the same way they do it, just to give you guys an alternate form. But some problems you really can't solve much differently. And it may have leaped out at you guys initially that if M is 5 times as much plus M, so the actual thing when we did this 6M equals 180 over here, you may have cognitively just perceived that and just jumped right to the 30 at that point. That's cool too. I would just mainly suggest that you write it down though. This isn't related, but do you know what to study if I got 46 out of 57 and 56 out of 57 in the math? So it means you're pretty much acing the math. I would normally hold this to the end, but I'm cool answering it now because it's kind of appropriate. So this isn't related, but how do you know what to study? All right, so when you go through and when you go through it and grade it, um, you need to go back and review every answer you got, whether it was correct or not, okay? And journal it if you need to even. And what you're trying to do is figure out why you got something wrong and exactly why. You have to kick and scream to do that. You must kick and scream to do it. Okay, if you don't kick and scream to do it, you're going to be messed up. Okay, and while I'm talking about this, Roberto, I'm going to post some links to scoring. Scoring is complicated and it's involved, and it's one reason why some of you guys get messed up on the SHSAT. Okay, because you don't realize that exactly how scoring works, and some of you are being misled by your tutoring centers. I'm posting 2 links. One's part 1, the other's part 2. It's going to talk about various aspects about scoring. Okay. So to get back to you, Mr. Know You, what you need to do is go rip apart, just the way I'm ripping these problems apart, and just figure out why you got something wrong. As well, you need to figure out why you got something right, especially if you weren't sure about it. Here's what a lot of you guys do. You go through it and you score your bubble sheet or your scrap paper, and then you look at the explanation and you go, oh, I got it right, and you just move on. Don't do that. Make sure you know why you got it right, okay? The other thing you need to do is go to the ones that you got wrong. A lot of you look at it and say, oh, oh, that was why. Oh, I made a silly error. And you just move on. Don't do that. By the way, guys, please subscribe and like. Um, don't just skip over the problems. You have to go and analyze it. And what you should be doing is, let's say it was on exponents, you need to now go and look up what exponents are. And don't just look at the error that you made. Let's say the problem was about exponent multiplication. Make sure you know everything about exponents, not just about the multiplication. And then do something like go to Khan's Academy and drill down a whole bunch of examples. And then finally come back to doing another practice test. And if you do this on each topic, including on the ELA, right? A lot of you guys like to think that the math is more focused, but it's not. The ELA is just as focused. The ELA still has main idea, it still has tone, it still has author's point of view. Even the revising it index section, it still talk about commas and punctuation and dangling modifiers and all these wonderful great things. So you have ways to go back, and you have the whole web at your service here to go back and try to get those things out of there. So when you go back, that's what you're looking for. So what should you do for the next 8 days of the, so to move back to Mr. Lama's question, or Miss Lama's question, is that part of what you're doing? What are some of the topics that you still don't know anything about at all? You need to still go do that in the next few days. What should I study for ELA? There's topics as well for ELA. Let me post a link to that. Okay, I'm going to post a link to some ELA topics. Okay, I also have a PDF form of it. Okay, I also have what I call a SHSAT starter kit. Which is a bunch of other streams. Wait a second, something just happened in that one. Bad. Did I just lose you guys? No, here we go. Okay, sorry. Okay, and what you should also do is go back and look at the first 10 parts of the series. I'm doing a cover review section here. So you guys should go back and look at that, okay? Okay, so let's see here. Please like and subscribe, guys. This is confusing to me. I'm breaking my neck for you guys. Please, the least you could do is like and subscribe. All right, so let me go back into the problems here. So that was 59. 60 is going to tell us about a juice mixture, so there's some juice, contains apple juice, it contains cranberry juice, and it might contain something else, or it might be completely that. So it's going to tell us that the apple juice is 3/16 of a gallon. The cranberry juice is 3/40 of a gallon. Okay. And it wants to know how many gallons of apple juice is there per gallon of cranberry juice. So that's an odd question in a way. So what it's doing is comparing the two of these. It's not comparing it to the whole. It's comparing it to each other. And it's in a certain order. It's an apple juice to cranberry juice. Okay? So all we have to do for this is plug in those two fractions. Now, some of you may not know what to do with this, but if you write it out in longhand form, as in 3/16 divided by 3/40. Does anybody know this rule? What do you do there? When you have division by a fraction. Yay, Roberto. Please like as well. When you have division by a fraction, does anybody know what to do? You multiply by the reciprocal. So this here, where's my cursor? Let me scroll this up slightly. This here becomes this. 3/16 times 40/3. The 3's cancel out. 8 goes into here twice. 8 goes into here 5 times. So I get 5/2. And that's equal to 2.5. Okay. So is everybody clear on that? Per means division. That's where we get this from. Normally you have miles per hour. That means miles divided by the hours. That's what's going on there. If I go 50 miles every 60 hours or something like that, that's a division. It's a ratio they're setting up. Remember, ratio has many forms. It could be A to B, or A colon B, or A divided by B, and it's also A divided by B like that. So that's all our forms. There's at least 4 ways to do that. Okay, so that's all that's going on here. It's saying, again, if we focus on this right here, apple to cranberry juice. We don't care about the whole thing. All right, is everybody good on that? Okay, 61 is a weird one. So there's a lot of numbers there, and this is a reasonable word problem, if you will. Okay. Welcome for anybody just joining. The lobby's starting to get a few people out there. Again, please say hi. Let me take a sip of this before we go on. So what we're going to do is take this one sentence at a time and build up our understanding. So we're going to start here. Mr. Chan's lawn grows 2 1/8 inches for every 2 weeks. I'm using a ratio right here. Okay. He mows his lawn every 2 weeks and cuts off 1 3/4 of it. And they're both in inches. Just make sure your units are always the same. Otherwise, you have to do a conversion. A lot of these normally have conversions. Hello, Roberta. All right. In this case, they're both inches. That means every 2 weeks, if we convert this here to 6/8, right? This is 3/8. That's the difference if we do the subtraction. Okay. So 3/8 is the difference every 2 weeks, per 2 weeks again. Okay. And I believe the handbook does a different way of doing this. So that's one reason why I'm showing it this alternate. So we did up to here. He mows off this and cuts off. So we did up to here now. Okay. So not only are we processing a sentence time, we're trying to understand it and we're trying to map it into math. Okay. His lawn was 4 inches tall at the beginning of the season. Okay. So his starting point is 4. Okay. How many inches is it after 8 weeks? So if it's 3/8 for 2 weeks, how many is it in 4 weeks? So what we're doing now is setting up a proportion, all right? And I could write it in this form too. I could do 3/8 is to 2 as x is to 4 and do a cross product or whatever. I just like to keep it here this way. Sorry, this was 8. I notice this is times 4. So I'm going to multiply 4 here and get 12/8. Okay. And that's equal to 1 4/8, which is equal to 1 1/2. Okay. So that's how much extra grass was left over. Because if you notice, it grows 2 1/8 every 2 weeks, and he cuts off 1 3/4. So he has some grass left. Every time he cuts it, he leaves some there. And he starts at 4. Right? His starting point was 4. So we add 4 to that. We get 5.5. And that should be what we're looking for. Yes, it is. Okay. And then, see how many more of these we have left. So I'm going to do one more problem, and that's it. We've gone over an hour, actually. So does everybody go with 61? So 61 is just simple mixed fraction and mixed fraction, as well as a word problem. This isn't quite the level with the SHSAT, but unlike the silly errors you can make with 58 and 59, that's not something you should do here. So here you're just taking it one sentence at a time, understanding the thing, watching out if there's any unit conversions necessary, and there was none, and then just solving it. So what you should do is take what I just said, and then also look at the SHSAT Handbook, because it has a slightly different way of doing it, and try to combine the two of those together, which is often the case with a lot of these, that we can do this. So what I did was I figured out the difference every 2 weeks. What you can do instead is figure out all the growth over the 8 weeks. So you multiply this by 4, multiply this by 4, subtract the 2 of them, and add that to 4. So that's the alternate way of doing it. Okay, the handbook has it, so I'm not necessarily going to repeat that. Is everybody cool on that question? 62. Results from, so when there's an illustration, I don't like to look at the words first. So I'm going to ignore the words for now. I'm going to make believe they don't exist. So I like to just analyze the table, illustration, pie chart, histogram, whatever they give us, I'm going to look at it. So this is the title of it, results from the survey, right? This is the number of children in the family. And I'm going to process that. Wait, there's some families have no children, some have up to 4. And then the number of families. So this means there's 19 families that have 2 children. Okay? So that's 38 children altogether. So this is what I'm trying to figure out. Okay? And what I might also do, because I don't know what the question is yet, I might also just do a quick sum of this. 70, 80, 92, and 14. Oh, guess what? That's my 110. So this should add up to 110. All right? So that's what I'm looking at here. So now that I analyzed that and kind of asked myself some questions about it, now I'm going to look at the word problem. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it a sentence at a time. And within each sentence, I'm going to take it a phrase at a time. So the table above shows the number of children in each of 110 families. So we already verified that already. So cool. So now our visual understanding maps now into the words. Cool. So we have the math, the visual, the logical, and the English form. All is jiving. What is the median number of children? So here we have a term. What is median? Okay. What median is, if I have a list of numbers, let's say I had 6, 3, 4, and 9, and 0, let's say. Okay, it means what I have to do is take the list, or a set, this is a set of a list of numbers, and put them in order. So my order is going to be 0, 3, 4, 6, and 9. The median says to take the middle number. Okay? If the list is even, if it was, say, 0, 3, 4, and 6, then we take the two middle numbers and get their average. So the median in this case here would be 3.5. The median in this case is 4. Okay? So our numbers are pretty much ordered here because there's 45 zeros, followed by 32 ones, followed by 19 twos, followed by 8 threes, followed by 6 fours. Okay? So to get the median, we have to, if we realize there's 55 numbers here, and then 55 more numbers. So the median is between the two middle numbers there. Okay? So if we order these, it should be clear that if we count 45, we have to go 10 more into the ones. Okay? The 55th number is a 1, and the 56th number is a 1. Okay? They're both 1s. So therefore the median is that. We could also do it going this way. 6 plus this is 14, plus 19 is 23, right? And then once we get into here, we're past that. We're in the 1s again. To get into 55 from 23, right? We're within this group here. So both directions. And that might be a way to double check it. This one was easy because this is 45. So since 32 is greater than 10, it had to be inside the 1s, okay? Okay, the solution to this is not to write out 45 zeros, then 32 ones, okay? If the set was smaller, that might make sense, but this one was pretty crystal clear, okay? So that's what you need to do there. All right, does anybody have any general questions? General questions. All right, is everybody clear? Your registrations are good? Everybody's kind of chilling out and having a good time trying to get to your kind of last week of this. It might be helpful just to throw this out. I'm going to do more of these, obviously, so please subscribe and please like again. If you guys have particular questions after this, you can certainly email me. What I haven't done a lot this year was Q&A sessions, so I might even throw up a Q&A session now while I'm doing some other stuff. I have to tutor a kid and so on, but I can pop back and forth and so on. Or maybe I'll just do it tomorrow or something. I have to see. But you guys should be thinking about maybe taking a practice test with a mask on. Okay? Of course, your test day is going to be at a physical location. And a lot of you guys are probably going to be uncomfortable with the mask on. You're not used to it. I don't think there's any breathing problems or whatever for at least most people. But if they're going to require it, you might as well kind of get used to it. All right. And if you need to acclimate yourself for that, just wear it for an hour in the house. Some of you guys have glasses and so on as well that might fog up, so that's something you need to get used to as well. If you don't have your, the answer is 56 for which question? No, the answer is, let me go back to that. It's looking for the number of children. So it would be 1, because that's what's over here. Okay. Start getting your go bags ready, stuff you're going to bring with you. This year it's at your high school, your middle school, unless you're a SHSAT Niner or somebody not elsewhere. Otherwise, I suggest you do a trial run. That said, some of you might be remote only, and you need to just start getting used to that. Make sure you have your pencils, your erasers. Plan what you're going to wear that day. It could end up raining or snowing. It could also end up being hot. So layers and hoodies are always good, right? It's also a point where you guys should be starting to get comfortable and planning your strategy of how you're going to get through the test. And just it's, even though there's enough work to do, there's still 10 days or whatever. Just start trying to chill and start making that you're a boss on this. You guys got this. A lot of you studied a real lot. And even though it's been a long, drawn-out thing, because technically it was going back from the end of October, November, or whatever, we're months into this, so it's like it's never ending. It's Groundhog Day kind of a scenario. That's cool too. All right, do any of you guys have any other questions? Any other questions? If not, I'll peace out. Give you guys a minute just to see what's going on. And again, my email is GregsTutoringNYC@gmail.com. If you guys need a tutoring session, I'm available. I'm basically available at this point 24/7. I can do super early in the morning. I can do late at night. If you want a session at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can do that too. So, all right, guys, I'm going to peace out. Have a great day.